What if the plainest teacup in your cabinet, the one you have poured coffee into 100 times, is worth more than everything else on that shelf combined? 15 of these overlooked cups have sold for hundreds, some for thousands, and one is among the most familiar china patterns in America. Most people see roses and gold and an old woman's cabinet and walk right past a small fortune. Tonight, I will teach you the one habit that separates a $10 cup from a $2,000 one. It takes 4 seconds and it lives entirely on the bottom of the cup. And number one is almost certainly already in your house. Here is the truth most people never hear. The words bone china stamped on the bottom mean very little by themselves. They are printed on tens of millions of cups, most worth $10 or $15. Value does not live in the label. It lives in who painted it, the shape, the condition, and whether the saucer still matches. Get those right, and an ordinary-looking cup can outprice a diamond ring. I have watched families guess wrong in both directions. Your cup is almost certainly not the Ming Dynasty chicken cup that sold at Sotheby's in Hong Kong for about $36 million in 2014. Only 17 of those exist anywhere on Earth. But the gap between a cheap cup and a small fortune hides in plain sight. The money is never in the roses. It is in the letters underneath that almost nobody reads. Number 15, Aynsley. A cup with hand-painted fruit and orchard blossom banded in heavy gold. Your first thought is fussy and dated, but look closer at the painting. Aynsley has made bone china since 1775, and their best cups were painted by hand, one at a time, by artists who signed their work. Names like J.A. Bailey. Tilt the cup under a lamp. Hand painting catches the light unevenly, with tiny ridges where the brush lifted, while a transfer sits dead flat. Ridges mean a hand and a name, and a signed Aynsley can jump from a few dollars to the high hundreds, or vanish in a box lot for $4 because the family only saw an old woman's teacup. Number 14, and this one is American. A set of small cups in plain silver holders, each with a white china liner inside. It gets mistaken for a leftover punch set, but turn the liner over. Lenox is the great American china house, and the pairing of sterling silver and Lenox is exactly what collectors chase. A fine set of a dozen can bring several $1,000s. Look for the Lenox wreath mark, then check the metal for the word sterling. Here is where it goes wrong. The silver gets sold for scrap by weight, the liners given away, and a set worth thousands becomes a handful of melt value. Number 13, Nippon. Turn over a hand-painted cup thick with gold and raised beadwork collectors call moriage, and you may find one word, Nippon. That word is a gift because Japan only marked its exports that way from 1891 to 1921. So the word itself is a date stamp. Most are modest, but the finest, with real scenic panels and raised gold that stands up under your fingertip, run into the hundreds. Feel the gold. Real moriage is bonded to the cup. A reproduction sits on top like frosting and chips away. Number 12, Belleek. That thin, creamy Irish china with a pearly shine. Here is what almost nobody checks. The color of the mark tells you the money. Belleek's earliest black mark ran from 1863 to about 1890, and first black mark teaware carries real premiums, choice pieces into the hundreds, the rarest into the thousands. The later green and gold marks are the common, affordable ones, worth about $20. A crisp first black mark on the very same shape can be worth $10 20, 50 times as much. Same china, different decade, a different number. Number 11, Royal Worcester. And this is where you learn the most valuable word in this whole video, a signature. Royal Worcester employed named artists whose work is collected like paintings. The Stinton family painted misty Highland cattle and game birds. An ordinary decorative Worcester cup might bring $17. But a cup and saucer signed by Harry Stinton has reached into the low thousands. Hunt the painting for a tiny signature. On this maker, the difference between unsigned and signed is the difference between lunch and a car payment. Number 10, and here I slow you down because it is the most common mistake I see. You read the words bone china and your heart jumps. Here is the honest truth. Those two words are on almost every cup ever made and add almost nothing on their own. Most bone china cups trade for $10 to $60. Bone china is not a value word, it is a recipe. Still, one test is worth doing, the prettiest one you will run tonight. Take the cup into a dark room and hold it to a single bare bulb. If it is true bone china, you will see the shadow of your own fingers glowing through the wall. That tells you what it is made of, not what it is worth. The painter, the shape, the condition, and the maker do that. Number 9, Paragon. If your cup is heavy with gold and covered in roses, and the bottom carries not one royal crown but two, read every word around them. For one narrow window, 1939 to 1949, 10 years and no more, Paragon held 2 royal warrants at once, and the mark named both the Queen and Queen Mary, with both crowns above. Count them. That double mark drops the cup into a 10-year slot that cannot be faked by wishing. Most Paragon is honestly modest, yet a heavy gold cabinet example climbs well into the hundreds, passed over because the seller assumed reproduction. Number 8, Shelley. In the early 1930s, Eric Slater drew the Vogue shape, all sharp geometry, with a solid triangular handle you hook a finger around. To a modern eye, it looks odd. But Slater's Art Deco shapes were made for only about 3 years, from 1930 to 1933, and Shelley closed in the mid-1960s. Fixed supply forever. Fine Deco Shelley sets have carried valuations up to £2,500. The tell is the handle, a solid geometric slab, not a round loop, with Shelley in green script on the base. Every time, the odd angular cup gets donated while the round pretty one is kept. The angular one was the money. Number 7, and now the ground shifts, because we are leaving the kitchen and walking into the treasure room. Meissen, the first true porcelain made in Europe, out of Germany since 1710. Turn the piece over and look for 2 crossed swords in underglaze blue. On an 18th century hand-painted cabinet cup, that mark means you are holding something museums fight over, and fine early Meissen cups bring 4 figures at Bonhams. But here is the trap. Those crossed swords are one of the most imitated marks in porcelain, copied by rivals for a century. So the swords alone are not the payday. The age, the painting, and the ground color are. A real one whispers, a copy shouts. Number 6, and this is the biggest number in the whole video. Sèvres, the porcelain of French kings. Jewel-like colored grounds and hand-painted panels ringed in gold. A single pair of period Sèvres cups and saucers made about £89,000 at Bonhams. $89,000 for 2 cups and 2 saucers. But slow down, because this is where the most money gets lost to hope. The market is flooded with Sèvres-style, later imitations wearing a fake interlaced L mark. A period piece has a date letter, a painter's mark, and 2 centuries of age. If a dealer offers you a 1760s French treasure for $90, it is not one. Before we get to the top 5, here is what most people never realize. The cups worth real money almost never look expensive. They sit in box lots and on the thrift store shelf because their owners decided they were old-fashioned. What decides value is a small set of signals: the maker's mark, the shape, the pattern number under the glaze, the condition of the gold, and whether the saucer survived. Those things are learnable. That is why I put together a guide called the Appraiser's Playbook, where I walk through the marks and shapes that separate a $15 cup from a $1,500 one. It is linked below. Now the top 5. Number 5, Shelley again, the dainty shape, the opposite of the angular vogue. 6 soft flutes around the rim, a delicate body, a small sprig of flowers. It looks like a plain everyday teacup, except in late 2021, a Shelley dainty breakfast set carrying an estimate of 30 to 40 pounds sold for 750 pounds, 20 times its estimate, and it even had a hairline crack. Run your thumb around the rim for 6 gentle flutes. Then check the base for a pattern number. Somebody nearly let that set go for the price of a takeaway dinner, and the professionals who cataloged it missed it too. Plainness is not the same as worthlessness. Sometimes it is the disguise. Number 4, a warning and a treasure in the same breath. Wedgwood. The name makes people's eyes light up, and forgers know it. Genuine Wedgwood is spelled W-E-D-G-W-O-O-D. The fakes add an extra letter, W-E-D-G-E-W-O-O-D, with an E in the middle, and that one wrong letter tells you the piece is not authentic, however convincing the rest looks. Read the mark out loud, letter by letter. And why do forgers bother? Because real Wedgwood can be a fortune. It's fairyland luster, iridescent pieces designed by Daisy Makick Jones, sells into the tens of thousands. 2 of them brought more than $100,000 together at a single auction last year. Number 3 is not a brand. It is a clock hidden in the words around the mark. Turn any cup over and read the country line exactly. If it simply says England, the piece was almost certainly made in or after 1891. If it says made in England, you are after about 1921. The word royal in a maker's name generally points to after 1850. And one more thing, a scratch, filed line, or drilled hole through the back stamp means the cup left as a second, a flawed run, worth much less. Run a fingertip across the mark and feel for it. Most people flip a cup, see a jumble of symbols, and set it back down. That jumble is a signed and dated confession. Number 2, and this one quietly costs people the most because the value is not in a single object. It is in a pair. A beautiful cup alone is worth a fraction of the same cup on its matching saucer, and a lone cup reads as an orphan. Set the cup on its saucer. The gold should be faded to the same degree. The pattern number should match. The back stamps should agree. A saucer that fits but does not truly match is a marriage, 2 pieces joined later, and it drags the price down. In a lifetime at this, I have watched more money lost to a broken-up set than to any forgery. Someone kept the pretty cup, sold the plain saucer for $1, and lost the real value with their own hands. And number 1, it is almost certainly a cup you already own, or your mother did, or one on your grandmother's shelf right now. Royal Albert Old Country Roses. Deep red roses, a fat band of gold around the rim so familiar it disappears into the cabinet. Your daughters call it dated, and you have half believed them. Here is what turns this whole video around. By the company's own count, this is the best-selling English china pattern ever made, more than 150 million pieces sold. And that is exactly why the ordinary ones are worth only $15 to $50. Fame is not value. What everyone recognizes is rarely worth the most because the whole world already has one. Most Old Country Roses cups are worth about what a nice lunch costs. But the value was never in the name. It was always on the bottom. Harold Holdcroft designed this pattern in 1962 for Thomas C. Wilde and Sons, and the earliest cups, made in England between 1962 and 1974, before production moved overseas, carry the real premium. Here is your final test. Turn the cup over. If it reads simply England, not Made in England, you may be holding an early one. Check that the rim's 22-karat gold is original and unworn, and do not misread the number 1962 on the base as the cup's age. That is the year the pattern was born, not the day your cup was made. Every cup tonight came down to one habit. Turn it over. Read the bottom. Believe what it tells you instead of what the roses tell you. The name on the front is the story someone told you to sell you a cup. The mark on the bottom is the truth. Everything worth money tonight was plain, familiar, and easy to walk right past. So before you clear out a single shelf, turn the cup over first. If this made you want to raid your own cabinet, do me one favor and like the video. Subscribe, because the next one does exactly this for the crystal and the depression glass in that same cabinet. And tell me in the comments, what is the oldest cup in your house and who did it come from? Number 1 is probably in your kitchen right now. Go turn it over.